Hello friends, one important video on goods and service tax. With an objective of one nation, one market, one tax, Government of India has introduced the goods and service tax and it has been applicable with effect from 1st July 2017. Since then, the government has issued a lot of notifications and circular time to time as per the business requirement, as per the GST law requirement. Now, as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, you are focusing more on growth and profitability. You are focusing more on sustainable business model. You are focusing more in the end result. But who will see the goods and service tax? One important notification that I would like to bring in front of you, that is more important, like how you are focusing on your business, profit, pricing. In a similar way, you have to focus on these notifications, and this is towards the stringent and restrictions on input tax credit. The input tax credit, one of the supreme element of goods and service tax. While you are discharging the outward tax liability through GSTR 3B, you are adjusting the tax liability with the input and net amount you are paying to the government. Here I am talking about the adjusting the input tax credit. Might be you have a good profit, might be you have a good growth, might be you have a good sustainable business model, might be you have a large amount of customer in your business to be able to build up more and more revenues. If you are not focusing on the compliances of GST, your all profit and growth will be compensated or absorbed through the non-compliance part of goods and service tax. Please keep a note. This is very important and this is a eye-opening session for you. This is the eye-opening session for you, that if you are not able to build up the GST compliance with the business requirement, might be you have a profit and that profit would not have a more values, because that profit is going to be compensated with the non-compliance part of the goods and service tax. So please listen carefully and apply this amendment notifications in your business. It is compulsory apply, because whatever you have, the sales, purchase, income, assets, liability or any other, in every transactions there is a input tax, and you are availing the input tax basis of what you have in your books of account. It means you are doing a crime for your business, and over the period of the time you will have more and more notice and you are not able to run your business effectively. Listen, micro, small and medium entrepreneurs. Listen this very carefully and apply very carefully in your business to be able to develop more and more business opportunities with the compliance of GST, goods and service tax. So stringent conditions and restrictions of goods and service tax, input tax credit. What are those? There are 6 conditions that you must know while you are availing the input tax credit, while you are discharging the outward tax liabilities to the government through the GSTR 3B. Number 1 conditions. You must have the valid tax invoice copy. Understand this. You have received goods or service against which you must have valid tax invoice copy. The conditions number second. The second conditions. You must receive the goods or service. Number 3rd conditions. Supplier must pay the tax through GSTR 3B subject to section 41, either through e-cash or e-credit. This is mandatory. The supplier has to pay the tax through GSTR 3B. Number 4 conditions. Buyer or recipient must have complied with the GST returns. The buyer or recipient must be complied with the GSTR 1, GSTR 2B, GSTR 3B or others returns as may be applicable. Buyer must be compliant. So what are those 4 conditions? The buyer or recipient must have the tax invoice copy. Buyer or recipient must receive the goods or service. Supplier must pay the tax through GSTR 3B subject to section 41 through e-cash or e-credit, and buyer and recipient must comply with the GST returns. These are the four conditions that were applicable up to 31st December 2021. So while you are discharging the outward tax liability by availing the input tax credit, you are fulfilling the conditions, these four conditions you were fulfilled at that point of time, and it was applicable up to 31st December 2021. Condition number 5, that has been applicable with effect from 1st January 2022, and it is applicable prospective to all taxpayer. The fifth condition says that input tax credit that you are availing in GSTR 3B must be matched with the auto-populated informations, namely GSTR 2B. In a very simple word, whatever the input that you are going to avail in your GSTR 3B, that must be matched with the GSTR 2B. You cannot take a single rupees more than the invoice value. It is very important. Every invoices, every document must be matched in your GSTR 2B. You have to be make sure before you are going to apply or avail the input tax credit in your GSTR 3B. Conditions number 5 is very important, that you make sure that you are applying these conditions and ensuring that you are availing the input tax credit as per what the credit is available in GSTR 2B. Conditions number 6, that has been applicable with effect from 1st October 2022. What is that? Section 38, subsection 1 and subsection 2. This is very important. Please listen carefully. Section 38, subsection 1 and subsection 2 has been applicable with effect from 1st October 2022, and it has been prospective, applicable to all taxpayers. So there is an automatic informations to be received by the recipient in the form of GSTR 2B. So while supplier is discharging the liability through GSTR 3B, an automatic informations, while supplier is filing the GSTR 1, an automatic informations, that informations will receive by the recipient or buyer, namely called GSTR 2B. Subsection 2, where there are two subclauses. The clause 1, which state the eligible input tax credit. Clause 2, which state the ineligible input tax credit. So in your GSTR 2B, there might be two columns, where in column number 1 you will have the input tax credit that is eligible. In column number 2, you would have the input. Your supplier has filed the returns accurately. Even though you are not able to avail the input tax credit under section 38, subsection 2, clause 2. This is very important that you have to apply. In clause 2, there are 6 restrictions. Even though your supplier is filing the return correctly, you are not able to take the input tax benefits. The 6 sub-clause that I will define and discuss will provide you in detail in another videos. Here, what is information that is important for you is the 6 conditions that you have to fulfill while you are going to avail the input tax credit in your GSTR 3B. This is very important. Let I'm summarizing once again. Buyer or recipient must have the valid tax invoice copy. Buyer or recipient must receive the goods or service. Buyer or recipient must comply for the tax returns. Supplier must pay the tax subject to section 41 either through e-cash or e-credit. These were the four conditions applicable till 31st December 2021. On 1st January 2022, one new conditions is implemented, and that is the matching concept of your input tax credit with GSTR 2B. And with effect from 1st October 2022, one more conditions has been applicable, and that is under section 38 subsection 1 and subsection 2, that you have to implement these 6 conditions. You have to follow these 6 conditions while you are going to avail the input tax credit. Now, what would be the consequences? What would be the consequences if we are not following the 6 conditions and avail the input tax credit? Ladies and gentlemen, you are doing business. It is not a joke that you will overrule the GST, that you will overrule the GST law and the notifications and get all those input tax benefit that is not as per the GST law or act. If you are doing that, again the same statement that you might be have a good profit, you might be have a good growth. Your profit and growth will be compensated with the GST non-compliance part. You'll have more notices, you'll have more assessment, and you will be more busy in fulfilling the expectations of the authorities in GST department. Understand this very, 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 very carefully and apply in your business. Bring those amount of transparency in your compliances while you are availing the input tax credit. If it is not available in GSTR 2B, no matter, stop that. Stop that immediately, not to take the credit. If it is not as per the section 38 subsection 1 and 2, stop that clearly. Not take the input tax benefit. What would be happen over the period of the time you will take? But at least you have to make sure that you are governing with the law and provisions of the GST before you are going to avail the input tax benefit. And it is providing you the new flavors in your business, because GST is the platform to be able to run more and more business opportunity, to be able to manage and magnificent create the opportunities. You would have the phenomenal growth when you are creating the sustainable platform and managing the GST compliance as per the business requirement, as per the standard requirement, as per the law requirement. So make sure that you are applying the GST compliance input tax credit, avail the input tax credit as per the law, as per the act, as per the notifications, and paying the tax to the government honestly, doing the business dedicatedly, creating more and more opportunity in your business with the help of the GST compliance, because GST is the blood of your business. GST is the blood of your business. Think about it and apply in your business. This is Sanjay Singh signing out. Until you meet again. Thank you. Thank you very much.